Guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a discussion for you. And today I would like to talk about designing a knife and get you guys to work through with me what that process might look like and what thoughts you might want to consider as you thought about it for yourself. So in the knife community, we love to play armchair quarterback. And as a reviewer, I am one of the worst for this, along with, my compatriots. This knife should have had this material, or the finger choil should have been this way rather than that way, or this blade steel would have been better than that one, or what about this grind? We love to take a knife design and offer all of our criticisms and all of the things that we feel like could have made it better. And so one of the things that we probably don't give as much time and attention to as we should is, what are the considerations that the company has to go through, either the designer or the manufacturer, whoever's coming up with this knife has to go through. So let's imagine you're going to make a knife. You're going to design it and build it, and you have some magic power that as soon as you say something, it'll just happen. Okay, so we don't have to belabor, securing, manufacturing, and all that kind of stuff. We're just going to imagine we're going to go ahead and build this. So let's take a few minutes and play actual quarterback, or at least think about what might be going on. So if you're going to build a knife, we're going to create a folding knife. What would you do? How would you go about it? And I would say start with the purpose. What is this going to be for? Right? Good tools have a purpose. They solve a problem. So is this going to be an everyday carry type of knife? Is it going to be a gentleman's folder? Is it going to be tactical, or a tactical knife? Is it going to be for outdoors or survival? Or is it going to be whatever the case may be. So maybe it's going to be like an ultra light folding backpacking knife, so that you can have something really good for rock climbing or long distance backpacking. For me, as I think about all of those categories, the one that stands out to me is sort of a combination of two, and that is, what I call EDC plus. And so what I mean by that is a knife that can realistically be carried in the pocket every single day, but which can also go a little bit above and beyond the call of duty, that where you've got a little more confidence perhaps in this knife than you would in your Kershaw Skyline or something like that. Okay, so that's the kind of class that I'm aiming for. EDC plus, where this is a knife that I can realistically carry with me every day, but it's a little beefier, it's a little bigger, it's a little tougher than your average EDC. And so with that in mind, the first thing I'm going to think about is size. And big surprise here, I'm going to aim for about 8.5 inches with 3.5 to 3 3/4 inch blade, and 4.5 to 5 inch handle. And so from there, now that I've kind of got the size, I'll make it as light as I possibly can. However, for me, the priority is going to be, oh, sorry about that. I kicked the tripod. But for me, the priority is going to be utility. See if I can straighten things out a little bit there, rather than super lightweight. So I'm going to be willing to sacrifice a little bit of that weight. And so if it ends up at 5.5 ounces, or as long as it's under 6 ounces, I think I'm going to be pretty happy. Okay, so now that we've kind of established that, I want to ask, what knife would you make? What size would your knife be, and what weight would you be aiming for? Please comment down in the comments below. If you want to wait till the very end and kind of fill in all the blanks, right? So far we've asked about purpose, we've asked about size and weight. We haven't gotten to the blade yet, and so let's go to the blade next. What kind of blade steel would you be using? Would it be S30V like this? Would it be 20CV? Would it be M390? Would it be S90V, S110V? And with that, you've probably got to consider a little bit about cost. Are you going to try to, is this going to be, a high-end knife where it just costs what it costs, and whatever that happens to be, you're just going to expect people to cough it up? Or are you going to try to aim for a certain segment of the marketplace? Are you going to try to aim for, customers who are budget minded? Are you going to try to aim for customers who are, whatever the case may be? Are they in the middle of the ground? Are they going to be picking this up at a gas station? Are they going to be, pure hardcore knife enthusiasts who want the top of the line everything? For me, right? My suggestion is going to be, or for me, my inclination, the thing that would kind of make me the most excited, the knives that I'm often the most interested, are the ones that offer a lot of performance per value. So I'm going to try to make a really, really useful knife, but one that doesn't cost a huge amount of money. So with that in mind, my first pick for blade steel is going to be 14C28N. Now, if somehow I'm able to secure 20CV for a really good price, sure, I like 20CV and M390 and all those steels, but yeah, 14C28N is a really, really nice choice for me because I feel like it's not crazy expensive. In fact, it's pretty budget friendly, but the performance, the toughness, the edge retention, the stainlessness, it's all there. It's a pretty decent steel for a budget minded knife. All right. Again, down in the comments, let me know what steel you're going to pick and let me know your thought process, right? Remember, we're trying to aim at a particular target here. And so I'd love to hear you down below, indicate to me what steel you might be leaning toward. Finally, with in regards to the blade steel, I guess, what about the blade itself? Is it going to be a clip point, right? Is it going to be a drop point? Do I have something here that's a drop point? Oh yeah, there you go. Is it going to be a drop point? Is it going to be Tanto? What else have I got represented here? Not much else really. Everything I have is a clip point or a drop point. So anyway, which blade shape are you going to go with? And for me, I'm going to go with a drop point style blade, something like this or this. All right. However, in terms of grind, I want to do a hollow grind that's fairly high, right? And in fact, from this blade right here, I would take a lot of my cues. Now, I wouldn't want this exact shape. I'm going to go with a drop point. I want a nice full belly, but I do want to retain the compound grind here. So I love a hollow grind combined with a flat grind out at the tip because I think it gives you the best of both worlds in terms of cutting power and strength. I'm also going to go with some thicker blade stock. I like really thick blade stock, so let's go with like 160 thousandths or so, depending on how everything works out in the end and maybe what my manufacturer tells me, but I'm going to go with 160 blade stock and then 15 thousandths behind the edge. So if I kind of use the Formax blade here as a model, I'm going to grind this pretty high and a moderate hollow grind ending somewhere around here, and then it's going to transition into a flat grind at the tip. And this dimension here right behind the edge, I want 15 thousandths, which is pretty thin and slicey, but I think it works well given the thicker blade stock and the extra strength at the tip. I still think I'm going to get lots of strength and yet be a knife that can cut pretty stinking well. All right, so now that we've got sort of the blade steel and the blade grind settled, what about the action? What lock type are we going to use and what bearing mechanism are we going to put in the pivot? So is it going to be a bearing pivot? Is it going to be phosphor bronze washers? Is it going to be, I guess, the best of all worlds, the tri-way pivot? Is it going to be, phosphor bronze with Teflon under it? For me, this is a pretty easy choice. I'm going to go with either phosphor bronze washers or roller bearings. I think both of those do deliver quite a bit of toughness, quite a bit of durability, and yeah, function really, really well. In a perfect world where price was no object, remember price is an object in our world, I would love to do the sealed bearings like on the Grant and Gavin Hawk Mud, but that would be a different ball of wax. So phosphor bronze washers or roller bearings are going to be my pick. And in terms of deployment method, I'm really, I'm not super concerned about deployment method, but probably a thumb stud with a nice detent would be how I'd want to get that done. All right, what about lock type? This is a little bit tougher. Of course, being tough and durable and utilitarian, the triad lock is always highly desirable. However, of course, that means it's got to be a cold steel. And I don't know that I want cold steel to build my knife. Maybe I do, but who knows? Maybe my negotiations with Lynn Anderson or GSM, or I think that's GSM is the company that owns Cold Steel now. But the point is, maybe I don't know that I want to deal with that. So I would probably lean toward an axis lock. All right, I think it does give a lot of strength, a lot of durability, but it also gives a huge amount of ease of use. It's a little, it's enjoyable for, fidget friendly stuff like that. I just think the Axis lock offers a lot of convenience. So let me know down in the comments below, what would your blade grind be? What would your blade shape be? And what lock would you go with? I do want to have one discussion here, and that is if I was going to go with a frame lock, okay, or a liner lock for that matter, I would want to figure out what I could do to really push the strength as high as possible. Okay, so here's an example of liner lock. So I'd want a full liner for sure. I wouldn't want to be doing a lot of cutting out like this. And if in terms of a frame lock, I would want to include I would want to include like a piece in here so that this front piece would be like this shape, adding a little extra strength and stability to the overall lock. And really, to do the best job of this, I mean, Ferrum Forge does it this way and my Riot Torrent does it this way, but I would want to spend some time and energy testing those locks and seeing what I could do to make that lock as strong as possible. I would probably want the tension as high as I could possibly get it while still being reasonably workable. Okay, so that's this how hard is it to push this over? And I'd like a fairly snappy detent, but not one that's impossible. Now with an axis lock, it's a little bit different. You're achieving your detent in a different way. Although I might take a cue from oh my goodness, now I can't think of his name, but I might go with the double detent system that a lot of knives are using now, so that the detent and the lock are two separate mechanisms. I kind of like that idea, and that'd be where I would probably want to go with this. So far we've got size and weight down, we've got blade steel, blade grind, blade shape, we've got lock type, we've got washer, or we've got bearing type, and for me it would either be phosphor bronze, or if I could swing it and still hit my price point, roller bearings would be sort of ideal. And I would do an axis lock with that. If I was going to do, by the way, phosphor bronze washers, they would be huge. They would be as big as I could possibly get them and still fit inside the handle of the knife, like what Chris Reeve does. All right, so now we finally can move on to the handle. And for me, there are a few things that I really, really like and would want to implement in my knife. I would want a thicker, beefier handle that gives me a little more hand-filling feeling. Even this one's pretty good. I would also want to do 3D contouring. So something like, you can see how this is rounded. Like this is rounded. Let's move these guys out of the way because they're not rounded. Okay, so I'd want to do 3D contouring with my knife. And then finally, in terms of shape, I tend to like sort of the banana shaped knives. So there's a few of them here. So you can see how the general shape of this, the general shape of this, even this, they all have that sort of bent angle to them where there's two pieces at the end that kind of secure your hand in place, and then the roundness kind of follows the palm of your hand. So that would be the shape of my handle. I would want it, as I said, fairly thick. And in terms of liners, I wouldn't necessarily do full stainless steel liners. I would just do enough of a liner to make the axis lock strong and workable. And then now micarta isn't always super duper strong, so you'd have to make sure you got good quality micarta or go to G10. And then I'd probably do a small backspacer like this rather than standoffs. I just find the backspacer adds a little extra strength there and is just a little simpler to deal with, especially if you're not using a lot of metal in the overall design. So I think that covers everything. Oh yeah, I haven't talked about the pocket clip at all. I would do just a bent over clip. All right, something like this, although I would want it to be milled out so that it fits flush with the handle, so long as that didn't ruin my price point. I like this, I'm not going to complain about a bent over clip like that, but I would love it if I could, sink it into you can see how this is milled out so that the clip can sink in. In a perfect world, I would want to do that as well. So that really covers all of the features of the knife and the way that I would want it to work out. I would pay attention to a couple of other small points. I would be making sure that my thumb stud was really comfortable, whatever I happen to use. If I did use a flipper, I would want the flipper to be above the pivot, okay? Unlike this guy, I would want it, I like snappier detents because they're just a little more reliable. And the flipper tab, I would want to be comfortable. So see how on the 0308 here, it's kind of angled so that it meets your finger pretty nicely and kind of goes where it belongs, if you will. So those are the things that I would be looking for. I would love to hear your list down below. So let me know what lock type you would pick, what handle material and handle construction, what kind of pocket clip, and any other considerations like flipper or thumb stud or whatever the case may be. So those are kind of the things that go into that thought process. And I hope that kind of helps all of us kind of think through what is needed when we're trying to design a knife. Now, by the way, in this exercise, we didn't have to figure out how the geometry was going to work. We didn't have to figure out where the stop pin was going to be. By the way, I would use a big hefty stop pin. Look over here. There we go. Big hefty stop pin, as big and hefty as I could manage, like what this guy does or what Chris Reeve Knives does. The other alternative would be to use the external pins like on the Hinderer. I really, really like that option as well. But one of those two would be my preferred way to go. I guess I should have thought of that as we were working through the action portion of the discussion. There you go, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And again, I'm really curious to hear the choices that you would make down in the comment section. Don't forget to check those channel sponsors. That's a huge help to the channel. And I think this time we'll go with DLT Trading. They do have some nice stuff over there, and using them does help the channel an awful lot. Of course, don't go there if they're grossly out of line with the best going rate in the marketplace. Thanks for watching. Again, we'll talk to you soon.